Welcome to the Content Podcast, Conversations with Silicon Valley's Creatives. I'm Daniel Garcia, your host and the cultivator of Content Magazine, published by SV Creates. This episode of the Content Magazine podcast is brought to you by Bonfire, a Silicon Valley digital agency building elevated websites for ambitious brands. Find out more about Bonfire at bonfire.com.
Hello, Scott Knies here.
Today we talk with Scott Knies. He's the executive director of the San Jose Downtown Association. Hey, Scott, how you doing? This is Daniel.
Hey, Daniel. Nice to hear from you. Hey, congratulations, by the way, on Content Magazine making the 10-year mark. That is quite a milestone.
It's pretty amazing. And, I was going to tell you right off the bat, too, that, that 10-year mark really is, I have to thank you for part of that, because when we first were starting out, you and the Downtown Association really kind of helped us out by giving us some projects. And the reality was, if not having those extra kind of boosts and connections in the community, we probably wouldn't have been able to survive, the first couple of years. So that was you really played a key part in this project, being able to then merge with SV Creates and then have this tenure. So thank you. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your help.
I remember one of the first issues. You wanted to get some photos of me. I said, I'm overexposed. Do we have to do this? And then I remember we went up on the roof of our building. Yeah. And I remember you've done some other photo shoots up there because you just loved it. You got the Bank of Italy Tower right across Santa Clara Street there. And it is such a photogenic location.
It's a great spot.
Yeah, I love it. And so, I've been a subscriber for a decade. And it's amazing how you've been able to find the authentic San Jose that I see represented in your pages. And I know that your art, I think we're all connected as individuals to art in some way. And I know your perspective is through the camera lens. And the old adage, a picture tells 1,000 words. And this is so important for what we've tried to do for downtown San Jose is show instead of tell.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I really appreciate it. And that's the thing. So, you're the executive director for the Downtown Association, but I want to kind of step back just a little bit and get to know Scott Knies outside of the position, right? And I know that I'm kind of curious. I don't know this part of your history. I know that you were running or founded the San Jose Fencing Center, correct?
That's correct.
And so how did you get to San Jose and doing that, and then we can lead into how you came into Downtown Association. But how did you even get to San Jose, and how did you launch the Fencing Center?
Well, this is probably when your podcast listeners start dropping off here.
No.
But I came to San Jose State in 1976. And
cool.
I came right from graduating high school up in Danville, Monte Vista High in Danville in 3 years. And I played sports. I played varsity baseball, and I missed being in sports. And I remember looking at the school schedule. And this is back when they were printed, and I'm looking at what gaps do I have? Because I wasn't going to I came in the spring semester, and archery and fencing were both co-ed. And I thought, I'm going to do something that's co-ed. And the fencing happened to fit my schedule. And I went.
Did you have any fencing experience before that class?
No, I didn't. I didn't really even. It just sounded cool. And I went and met the teacher, who was Michael DeSaro, who had been Olympic coach and it was a champion. And the women's teams at the time, the women's foil, the women were only allowed to fence foil. This is, back in the 70s. And they were the national champion. So Michael, because of his stature as a coach, had attracted all of these really top athletes to the fencing program at San Jose State. And he told me, in the beginning fencing class, he said, I want you to come after after.
Hmm.
So I went and went over into the corner of the gym. We call it the salle. It's the room in French. So I went to the
Hmm.
corner of the fencing salle, and I'm like poking a target on the wall with my foil,
Yeah.
and so he recruited people out that he thought had talent, I guess, from the
Wow.
beginning fencing class, and I just I switched from foil to saber and joined
Oh.
the fencing team and got to represent San Jose State at the NCAA championships. And
Wow.
I'm a former Western Intercollegiate saber champ for
Yeah.
San Jose State and also Pacific Coast saber champ. So
Wow.
I used to be a good fencer.
Well, that's cool. But from coming not from having an experience in that and then kind of stumbling upon it to being, a champion, I mean, that's pretty cool. But you already kind of were athletic, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
said you did other, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
it's
That's cool.
you need the desire to hit your opponent before they hit you. And I've always people have always told me I've been very competitive, and so I fell in love with fencing. And Michael, my uh, coach, was very much a mentor for me, and it was not just the physical part. I mean, you obviously need to have physical talent, but
Hmm.
the mental part of it and also the spiritual part
Hmm.
of competition was all part of our training. And when I came back to San Jose after working as a daily newspaper reporter, I got back into fencing because I missed it. And then a bunch of
Hmm.
us said, let's start our own fencing club.
Yeah.
And we did. And so we started the fencing center at 10 Notre Dame. It's where
Oh,
Axis stands right now in
okay.
downtown in the old Mercury News building. This is 1982.
Yeah.
And we started the fencing center in downtown, and DeSaro and another, the UCSC, the Santa Cruz coach, Delmar Calver, who was also a very accomplished coach. Both of them were our maestros at the
Hmm.
club, and we started producing junior Olympians. We had
Yeah.
two members of our club, Peter Schifrin and Greg Macialis, on the '84 Olympic team, the LA Games,
Awesome.
that really kind of was the first um, Olympic Games that used the full power of media and some will say commercialism to
Hmm.
expose the
The
Olympic
games.
sports to a larger audience.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. And then now it was because you had the fencing center. Then you were downtown. That's where you kind of came in contact. I believe it was Dan Procrano actually started of the Metro started the downtown association, right? So he was kind of networking people together to kind of give a emphasis on downtown, right? Was that the that led you into at least being a part of the downtown association?
Well, we moved the fencing center in 1983. The owner of the old Mercury News building, which was also the former Heald Business College and was an antique place, was the father of one of our junior fencing girls.
Hmm.
And he was going to demo the building. So we moved to 40 North First Street. Ironically, the building exactly next door to the Downtown Association office in
Hmm.
1983. And it was the Collection Bureau of San Jose at the time. And
Hmm.
they were on the first and second floors, but the third and fourth floors were unoccupied. And they allowed us to go in there. So we established the club there just in time for the '84 Olympics. And um, we were very successful. And then what happened was the redevelopment agency began the Transit Mall construction project.
Yeah.
And so the legend, the mythology is those of us who had businesses at the time in the core of downtown, and we saw the construction start, and the construction was uh, storefront to storefront. It wasn't just
Yeah.
in the street. They were building these light rail tracks down First and Second Street, and they started tearing up the
Yeah.
downtown in 1985. And for an old historic building like ours that had a basement, they had to excavate the basements. They were filling some in, and they had bridges. So we literally, our
Yeah.
customers had to walk over a wooden plank to get to
Right.
our front
Yeah.
door. So we thought, this isn't going to work, and nobody's telling us what's going on here. We were going to have a sidewalk sale. That was a thing you did back in the '80s, and we got to work that day of the sidewalk sale, and our sidewalks were gone. And we thought we thought
Okay.
we better start organizing ourselves. And at the time, the redevelopment agency was kind of almighty, and they gave for businesses like the fencing center that had already been established
Hmm.
and were right on the transit mall on First and Second Street. They started subsidizing our rent. So I got to know the redevelopment agency at the
Hmm.
time, and kind of simultaneous with that, uh, Dan Pocrano and Ray Rodriguez, a freelance photographer, were walking up and down First Street and collecting $35 dues.
Hmm.
And the Downtown Association started in 1986 that way.
Was that for protection?
Well, that was just, we needed to have a voice with
Yeah.
construction mitigation wasn't in the redevelopment agency's repertoire at the time.
Yeah.
And then the businesses were getting crushed. And so what happened was we started the businesses, the fencing center and other restaurants and other businesses started making some noise, and we
Hmm.
started complaining. And the redevelopment agency said, well, we've got some ideas. Again, didn't talk to us. And they hired uh, this is a kind of a famous turning point. They hired this uh, rubber tire cable car to help drive people around all the construction mess.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And what happened? It was during the winter, and some of the homeless folks downtown just
Hmm.
rode the cable cars, and there's a big front page story in the Merc.
Yeah.
Trolley to nowhere. And
Yeah.
so that kind of backfired. And they said, well, let's do a holiday promotion for them. And they hired this Santa Claus to sit in the window at De La Rosa's bridal shop,
Hmm.
kind of like, uh, a big picture window there. And this guy was nipping at the bottle and passed out in the window. And so the redevelopment agency figured that they weren't very good at doing promotions. And simultaneous with this, the Greater San Jose Business Association was um, causing some distress for our downtown councilperson, Susan Hammer, and McHenry. Tom McHenry was the mayor at the time.
Yeah.
And McHenry, who always had a quip for everything, said, the smaller their organization got, the longer their name got. And uh, he agreed with redevelopment, which was having kind of these flops. It's like, let's give this upstart downtown association that is willing to form a business assessment district if we give them some money. So
Yeah.
they gave seed money. The council passed it in late '87, and uh, I was hired, and I
Yeah.
started I started in March of '88.
88. Wow. Yeah. So, well, so I mean, you've been really kind of in a great seat to see all the kind of like, if you're from San Jose and downtown San Jose, especially, there's always these kind of like, it seems like there's these starts and these restarts and these, you know, these new renaissance that kind of, so, I mean, you've been there for 34 years,
Good math,
35 years,
yes.
yeah. So you've seen a number of these kind of like, uh, promises of the new downtown. And what what are some of those cycles that you kind of reflect on fondly, or maybe not as fondly?
Yeah, it's that's a big question, because there's so many
Hmm.
cycles over 3+ decades, and you think about, uh, we've still got
Yeah.
some survivors down here
Yeah.
from the '80s that have been with us. all of this time. And I have so much respect for them believing in San Jose
Mm-hmm.
like I do, and
Mm-hmm.
hanging in there through all the fits and starts. It's interesting. One of the first things that happened when the association formed was this anti-skid row ordinance, which drove out some of the adult businesses that were
Mm-hmm.
primarily down in SOFA. And the idea here that, you know, this is before it was called SOFA. We came up with that name. It was redevelopment agency called it the Market Almaden Arts and Entertainment District. How's
Okay,
that
that's a
for?
nice. That's a nice
Yeah,
long
that
name.
rolls off the tongue, right? And
Yeah.
and we just thought that we have to be authentically who San Jose is for this to work. And uh, obviously, there was south of Houston Street and south of Market in
Yeah.
Soma up in San Francisco, and we came up with South First area. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so we thought let's keep some funk and some grit. We had some great music venues and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of restaurants and small businesses, and we really thought that needed to be our focus right from the beginning. So
Yeah.
when the association started in 1988, we had been through this big initial redevelopment era construction push, which was
Yeah.
desperately needed. I mean,
Yeah.
our downtown had bought into urban removal in the
Right.
70s, and we lost full blocks,
Yeah.
and Highway 87 wasn't complete. Uh, we needed redevelopment to build cultural facilities, which they did with additions to the Museum of Art, obviously the Tech Children's Discovery Museum,
Yeah.
the Repertory Theater, now the Hammer
Yeah.
Theater. So there are all these investments. They bought, the Jose Theater. They kept that, and in building transportation infrastructure, and then investing in parks, Guadalupe. I mean, we really, our
Yeah.
downtown had been neglected
Yeah.
primarily intentionally by the public sector that built out instead of in. And it really
Yeah.
didn't stop the reversal until Janet Gray Hayes, and then Tom McHenry became mayor, where it was like, look, for us to be a city that works, you need the heart of your city to be
Yeah.
strong and to help beat some of that blood out to the arteries, and make downtown have the amenities like the museums and the theaters, and
Yeah.
eventually
Yeah.
the arena, and and have it be everybody's neighborhood. So this is the
Yeah.
place that you can come from any part of San Jose, and that investment um, had been lacking until the redevelopment resources, were marshaled beginning in the 80s, and then through the
Yeah.
90s, especially with the building phase that Mayor Hammer was able to undertake.
Yeah. So I mean, the history kind of like of San Jose is, I guess, right, is a little different because most cities, if you take like New York or whatever, right, you see, the city is there in its kind of urban downtown area for a couple generations, and then you get more of the urban sprawl. But we're here in San Jose. It was kind of like there's a little downtown, but the suburbs were being built up rapidly that sucked everything out of the city center, right? And then it was kind of
Yeah,
so,
that's
yeah,
definitely part of the story, and again, uh, it was kind of purposeful in some ways by the city leaders, because this downtown was really incredible. And
yeah,
then you had a series of decisions with, well, let's move the daily newspaper out of downtown.
mm-hmm,
Let's move
mm-hmm.
City Hall
City
out
Hall,
of
yeah,
downtown, and obviously with Mayor Hammer, City Hall, we had the election, and moved City Hall back downtown. So
yeah,
a lot of these mistakes kind
yeah,
of created the hole in the donut. And then as it's like, well, look, the public sector and these institutions are abandoning the downtown. So then you had the retail, leave. I mean, the corner that we're at Santa Clara and First, Penny's used to be here,
Yeah.
Roos Atkins, Macy's. I mean, this was Hart's uh, department store. I mean, downtown
Yeah.
was the center for the valley, and it is going, always has been the center, but it needs to be more representative of
Yeah.
how San Jose is today. So we're not
Yeah.
pining for the past. We don't want to
Yeah.
repeat the mistakes of the past either.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And that's what you've been working on for the last 33 years. And so you kind of have, and also, I mean, the accomplishments that have happened over these years with, there's, downtown ice, of course, music in the park, dying downtown, and Groundworks was kind of spurred out of the downtown association too. Is that correct? Am I getting that?
Yeah, yeah. So when you're talking about our clean and safe
Cleanup.
program, so
Yeah. Yeah.
Groundworks is our kind of marketing brand. I think that's something the Downtown Association has done pretty well right
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning. We said, um, let's let's really be aware and intentional about the names we give things, and about the graphic design, and
Mm-hmm.
about the art that we support, and really have it reflect an urban aesthetic,
Yeah.
and what are we aspiring to here. So we wanted to have some sophistication in all of that, and so our PBID, because that one, that doesn't roll off the tongue either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Property based improvement district. So
Yeah.
it's an assessment district. So the PBID, uh, our marketing of the PBID services is called Groundworks, and these are really the 26 individuals that pressure wash, that abate graffiti, that pick up
Yeah.
trash, that plant flowers, that hang lights, that
Yeah.
provide ambassador services, and
Mm-hmm.
are the eyes and the ears for safety downtown. And
Yeah.
we started that as uh, kind of the Great Recession was starting to take a hold, and redevelopment was kind of on the way out, and
Yeah.
ultimately Governor Brown, Jerry Brown, vanquished all redevelopment agencies in 2011, and so all of that money just overnight was gone, and so
Yeah.
we saw that the conditions downtown were not up to the level that we wanted in cleanliness, because the city was strapped for money, and redevelopment wasn't able to provide as much, and so we organized our property owners downtown. So this is an actual assessment on
Hmm.
the downtown property owners property tax bill, and that money goes to pay for the groundwork services. And
Yeah.
we established that in 2008 for 5 years. We kind of proved the concept, and then we renewed it in 2012 for 10 years. And
Hmm.
because you're so good at math, you know that we are facing renewal as we speak. We're
Hmm.
talking here on February 25th, and we are right in the middle of renewing the district for another 10 years.
So what's involved in that? I mean, this is kind of where you kind of come between, like as with I would imagine being in some ways an advocate, um, policy maker, politician, business organizer. I mean, so like for instance, let's use Groundworks kind of an example. How do you? So you're saying re-up that? Who's paying for it? What's involved with reestablishing that?
Oh, it's not as easy as you
Complicated.
think. We're in the state of California after all. Yeah, so we have to provide every property owner in the district. So think about
Mm-hmm.
the condo towers. So
Yeah.
every condo owner there has a little piece of the district as well. And so
Okay.
every property owner, there's about almost 1,700. different
Hmm.
property owners.
Hmm.
They all receive a petition. So we have
Okay.
to petition the city council to then
Oh.
mail all the property owners a ballot. And then
Hmm.
every property owner gets to vote yes or no on the ballot. Before we get to the ballot phase, we have to provide 50% plus one of the entire assessed value of the district in petition form. So every property owner has to say,
To
sign the
sign something.
petition. So you try to
Hmm.
get people to sign something. And
Yeah.
on that
Yeah.
petition, it says what they would pay to the P-bid in the first year.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was incredibly hard in 2007 when we
Yeah.
were starting it because nobody knew it wasn't proof of
Yeah. It's not a
concept yet.
proven concept. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't have all the statistics, and so now it's a little bit easier because the property owners that, I mean, groundworks is beloved. They
Yeah.
can't imagine what the sidewalks would be like if
Yeah.
groundworks wasn't doing the cleaning and wasn't prevalent
Yeah.
on the blocks. But it still is difficult to get, especially some asset manager who has to report to a REIT. Downtown is in all local ownership, and just trying to get people to return things.
Yeah.
Everybody's so
Sure.
busy and things are more complicated.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we're going to get the petitions, and then we got to go to city council. Then they set a date for a ballot vote, and then everybody has to vote again
Hmm.
on it. And we would
That's a
re-up,
big lift.
yeah, re-up the services. We hope to complete this by June.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. That's cool. That's a lot of work. And what now? So this is the downtown.
I
So is
want
this?
you, by the way, Daniel, I want
Yeah.
you to talk to your property owner and see if they've signed their damn petition yet.
I don't know if I got one. I am the property owner. I got to take a look
You,
for
you
then for content.
oh, you
Yeah.
are. I thought you were in the Valley Title
I,
building.
yeah. For content. Yeah. And SV creates. Yeah. We're in the Valley Title
Right,
building.
right.
Yeah.
So
So
I
I'll have to
want you,
take a look into that.
yeah, I want you
Yeah.
to talk to your landlord. They're the
I'm
ones that
sure.
get the petition.
I'm sure they want to. I'm sure they would sign it if they saw it, which is another difficult thing. So yep. So now, so the downtown association works with downtown, the urban core, but is that all, it's not is that all of is District 3, or that's more kind of the historic area? Or what's the boundaries, would you say,
Yeah,
for the downtown association?
in many ways, we're blessed that we have such a clear focus. So we're
Hmm.
not the San Jose, and we would
Yeah.
never, we're not all of San Jose, we're not all of District 3, we're not, and we would never change our name to Silicon Valley anything. We are San Jose downtown,
Yeah.
and so the boundaries that we initially embraced are, uh, 4th Street to Highway 87 to
Okay.
280 on the south and Julian on the north. And then,
Okay.
I mean, this is back in the 1980s when we started the business improvement district, because you had to draw boundaries around where you were going to do assessments. And
Hmm.
that's changed over the years. We've annexed, some people would say gerrymandered, the Coleman Center on the north. Obviously, when
Okay.
the arena was added, we went to the train tracks on the west. And
Okay.
when City Hall was added, we went to Fifth Street on the east. And now
Hmm.
we're expanding again, modestly, with the PBID renewal that's underway right now, because we're never finished. You
Hmm.
never plant a flag and say downtown is done, or
Yeah.
San Jose is finished. And I would say that's probably the recipe for success of the association, and kind of why I've been able to stick around for so long, is because it's different every day, every year.
Hmm.
There's more challenges, different challenges. There's new owners, properties, businesses come and go. Uh,
Yeah.
is developments. We've got a lot of plans. Some of them stayed on the shelf. but we've got some that are underway now, which is really interesting, kind of post redevelopment, where I would say the first half of our existence, there was this real public sector driven vision. And now
Hmm.
with the diminishing resources of the public sector here in San Jose, uh, this this era is definitely private sector, and I would add a little bit of third sector, nonprofit led,
Hmm. Yeah.
or at least we're a much stronger partner with the future. We obviously need to do this together with VTA and the city and the
Yeah.
county and all the public sector agencies. We're all in it together, and we certainly are supporting the big transportation investments, and
Yeah.
we do need a strong public sector here. But at the same time, the uh, the private sector and nonprofit sectors have have grown up and have become stronger themselves.
Yeah. So if you were looking back at the Scott of 1987, 1988, and what you kind of like thought and envisioned about this position, how has that changed to 2012 Scott Knees?
Well, 2000, 2012, or
Oh,
can we take
22,
it? Can we
22.
take
Oh,
it
yeah,
all
that's
to the
right.
present? It's like,
That's, yeah,
okay,
sorry. I
like a
always
trick
keep doing that.
question, man. It's like,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'm confused on what it is. But yeah, yeah, 2022. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm 34 years older, and
Hmm.
uh, I was. I mean, we were in our 20s when we started the organization, and
Yeah.
I, I was a punk. I mean, I wasn't asking, I wasn't asking my elders,
Hmm.
for breadcrumbs to follow. It's like, get out of the way.
Sure.
We're going to do it ourselves. And now I look like that person that I was not
Hmm.
listening to.
Hmm.
uh,
Sure.
and what's different though is I am really interested and excited about the young people that I see coming up, this next generation of leadership for
Hmm.
San Jose, and I want to help in any way I can to make them successful, and so part of that is when do you get out of the way? And
Yeah.
after and I hear this all the time. Hey, Boomer, you've had power long enough. It's time to turn it over. And I this is the time we're going to be electing a new mayor, a new downtown council person, and
Hmm.
so I'm stepping down November 1st. We're going to have national. We're commencing a national search. Our board has been
Okay.
doing succession planning for years, and
Yeah.
this is the time to uh, turn it over to my successor here, and for the downtown association to take a new path.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's good. So I guess the lessons that you've seen, or the from the 1989, 87 Scott, was the ability to listen and um, kind of and be collaborative. Would that be kind of what you would say is the big change in you and maybe the way that you lead?
Yeah, and I've uh, definitely just as growing up and
Mm.
knowing that the best part of the job has always been the people,
Mm-hmm.
and those are the members that have had the courage and the creativity to open up businesses that we represent,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing them, and being here. We're a place management organization. You have to be
Mm.
in the place, and
Yeah.
and as soon as we were allowed back in the office, we were back in the office. we
Mm-hmm.
we we have to see it and touch it and feel it. And if our members, the same thing with, we have all those um, different holidays, Columbus Day or Veterans Day. I said, hey,
Yeah.
if our businesses are open, those aren't holidays for us. We got
All
to
right.
work those days, and
Yeah.
we do, and
Yeah.
and that um, I would say with the ability to be more collaborative and just listen more and not be so controlling, just becoming a better manager and just
Yeah.
letting, one of the hallmarks of the association is all of our alumni
Hmm.
that are working in the community right now.
Mm-hmm.
From Jason Sue is running Guadalupe
Mm-hmm.
River Park and Gardens, and
Mm-hmm.
Derek Seaver is the
Hmm.
CEO of the chamber, and Blage Zalalic is the downtown
Mm-hmm.
manager for the city of San
Yeah.
Jose, and Gretchen Biza is over at
Yeah.
VTA, and Eric Hahn is a division director at Department of
Yeah.
Transportation for the city, and I could go on.
Yeah. That's cool.
We have a lot of our folks have uh, stayed downtown
Yeah.
because they have the passion to make this place better.
Yeah. That's cool. Um, this is kind of interesting question. I just kind of thought of it. Every organization takes on some sort of personality of the leader, intentionally or unintentionally or accidentally. What would you say? And this is kind of it'll probably be a little difficult. And maybe I should ask one of your uh, coworkers. But what would you say? What would you say that the downtown association? Um, what's a attribute or a characteristic of the downtown uh, association that you think is reflective of you and who you are?
Well, we've communicated to our members. We're the only organization, I think, that still is standing um, in the valley, that puts out a newsletter
Mm-hmm.
every single month
Yeah.
with um, with thousands, both online and paper, of readership. So you can say a
Mm-hmm.
lot about whether we've been successful or not. But one thing that we really have done well is we've informed our members, and we've had a real commitment to that from the beginning, because
Mm-hmm.
we're getting assessments from them. So they're kind of if they're located here, they're like involuntarily members. So
Hmm.
we have this obligation to tell them how their money was being spent, and we've done that in a way that is uh, honest and
Mm-hmm.
direct. And I think this goes back to my training is as a journalist. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a former daily newspaper reporter, and this the whole idea of the fourth estate, and representing nonprofit organizations for
Mm-hmm.
most of my career, as uh, I've taken those values into the way this organization communicates
Yeah.
with accuracy, with we spell people's names right.
Hmm.
We try to represent everybody, and what big guys, uh, big property owners, small property owners, big businesses, little businesses. It's everybody is been treated equally here, because
Mm-hmm.
there's no better barometer than the small business community. The
Yeah.
ground floor businesses, especially for what they've gone through the last 2 years with COVID, just been
Yeah.
been pummeled, and we have always um, been aggressively representing them,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's on policy, promotions. We haven't been afraid to take risks. Not everything we've done has been successful, but we've always done it with um, with a board that's representative of
Yeah.
who downtown San Jose is.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to ask you even because you had, the newsletter, and then I actually didn't know that you were a news a newsman and a journalist. I didn't actually know that about you, and so I was like, oh yeah. Then the newsletter comes out, and it's so well done. Um, yeah. So that was original goal. You were looking to do to be a journalist, and that was kind of like the original plan, and this kind of stumbled upon your path.
Yeah, yeah. We at the time, um, my girlfriend at the time, soon to be my uh, practice wife, my first wife.
Practice.
We were living in New Mexico, and there were some family issues on her side, so we moved back to San Jose, and I was going to freelance. I had been, a daily newspaper reporter out in New Mexico, and
Hmm.
um, I started freelancing. But the bills kept coming, so I
Yeah.
was working as a pâtissier, and so I was making uh, uh, palmiers and brioche and croissant during
Oh,
during the early morning hours, and then teaching
wow.
fencing at night. And then
Wow.
we started the fencing center
Yeah.
in 1982, and then that became my job. I was the executive director of the fencing center. The fencing center, by the way, is still in existence.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's you did a beautiful piece in Content Magazine a couple years ago on the Monterey corridor, uh, down there before you get to Denny's at
Yeah.
Alma, big facility, and
Yeah.
we just hosted uh, last month a national North American circuit event there. So the
Cool.
club is doing brilliantly.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So, okay. So then the freelance news journalism thing was kind of tough, making bread, trying to make the bread and butter cause you. And then yeah, the rest is, it's always interesting. I'm always interested on just how people's paths, it's just like the connections that you make, the people that
Right.
you make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we get the fencing center going, and initially we're teaching kids. So picture this. I mean, I'm 22 years old, 23 years old. I've
Hmm.
got a big bag of foils and masks and jackets, and I'm driving to these private schools, and we're teaching
Oh,
fencing
yeah.
after school to these, kids, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids. And then, of
Yeah.
course, the parents are like, okay, who are these guys coming over here teaching our kids with swords? And they saw
Yeah.
that we were, really well trained, and that we had a regiment. And then they said, well, okay, I want my kid to have more fencing. Can I
Yeah.
get private lessons? And then we said, maybe there's a business here. So that's why we started the fencing centers, because one of the wealthy parents said, I have a building in downtown San Jose you can have. And we
Yeah.
said,
Yeah. Yeah.
we can do that. And so we got basically free rent, and we started the club. Uh,
Yeah.
like I said, at the old Merck building on Notre Dame, and then we moved to the First Street building, which
Yeah.
became the ballet building after we we left that
Yeah.
location. And so I was there, as we already talked about, when the transit mall construction started, and that's how I got into the
Yeah.
downtown association.
Yeah. That's kind of funny. Um, yeah, it's cool. Now, so also too, just you personally, I can't remember if it's canoeing or kayaking, but there's something that you do with a vessel in the water regularly.
I'm a river rat, and I'm ready. I'm leaving in less than a month. I leave for Flagstaff, Arizona on March 20th. We have a permit to run the Colorado River through
Oh,
Grand
wow.
Canyon for
Oh, cool.
21 days on March 23rd. And this will be my 15th non commercial Grand Canyon trip. And
Wow.
what's even cooler, Daniel, is yesterday,
Yeah.
they ran the lottery. It's very hard to get these permits.
Okay.
And they ran the lottery for 2023 Grand Canyon permits.
Mm-hmm.
And I got, the email, you did not win. Your lottery application did not win. And then 5 minutes later, I got a text from one of the members of our tribe, who's actually on our trip next month, that said, I got a permit. So,
Okay.
yep,
How many
that
people can go on the permit then?
1 to 16. And
Okay, that's quite a range.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, some people do a solo trip, believe it or not, down
Yeah, yeah.
there. And
So tell me about this. So when you say river raft, I mean, is it a canoe or is it a kayak? What's
I'm in a raft. I'm in
okay? A raft.
an oar raft, not a paddle raft. So it's got an oar on either side, and you know the Colorado River through Grand Canyon has got some of the biggest whitewater in North America. So there's
Hmm.
some very challenging rapids that, and you the trip that we do is either 226 river miles, or you can go down a little
Hmm.
farther to Pierce Ferry instead of taking out at Diamond Creek and go 270 miles down. And
Hmm.
so
Wow. So
you're in this beautiful wilderness with these incredible side canyons and no cell phone coverage,
yeah.
and it's just the greatest adventure under sun and stars.
Hmm. And when you say raft, is that mean it's kind of like the rubber plastic kind of like it's like a
Yeah, yeah,
pylon on the side and
okay. So it's a rubber. It's a yeah. uh,
yeah.
I'm on a 16-foot
Okay.
raft, and we've got 5 rafts for 21 days, and there's
Okay. And you
11
pull your food with it like on
everything.
coolers. There's like the kitchen raft or something like that.
Yep, and you got the groover raft. The groover is what we call our portable toilets. So you pack
Hmm.
everything in
Pack it
and
in, pack it
out.
out.
Yep. Uh,
Wow.
keep the canyon beautiful and clean. And yeah, we've got 11 people on our trip next month. One
Hmm.
kayaker. So we've got 2 people on each raft. Boatmen.
Hmm.
I am a boatman. I I like rowing and scouting the rapids and running the rapids and
Hmm.
pulling over and setting up camp, and next morning tearing down camp and loading the raft
Yeah.
again and heading down the river again. It really is. It's not for everybody. My wife will is not interested in being cold or being splashed in big rapids or having to poop in a rocket box, and none of that stuff appeals to her.
Yeah.
But you know, there's
Yeah.
nothing like sleeping on the ground for 21 days in a row to uh,
To hurt your back.
well, I would say to get to really get in touch with
Yeah.
where we are and where our place is
Yeah.
in this earth.
Yeah, that must be incredible. I mean, just thinking about, I mean, like riding on the water, there's something, even though, those rapids can be crazy and exhilarating, but then when you have a still part and you're in the canyon and then to wake up in the morning, with the sunrise and the dew and the cold and the coffee and get going. I mean, that's just, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do it, but I do, I can appreciate the visuals of it. I'll watch
Well,
the documentary.
yeah, I mean, I've got, as you would imagine, it's a very photogenic place. I should share with
Yeah.
you one of the albums sometime.
Yeah.
I think you'd be interested in
Yeah. Yeah.
what it really looks like. It's incredible, and there's plenty of other rivers. But I've got this Grand Canyon trip coming up, so
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it a lot. I'm actually thinking about the P-bid renewal, and then occasionally thinking about the Grand Canyon.
Both of them, yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, we did the Grand Canyon. We walked down just like halfway. I think it was right before COVID hit. We did the Grand Canyon, and I was just thinking about that. Would be so incredible to be down in there and then floating through, rafting through. It must be just spectacular. I mean, I forget what the depth of the canyon in. What's the mileage of how deep the Grand Canyon is?
Yeah, so you were probably on the south rim and maybe walk down the
Yeah,
Bright Angel or Kaibab
yeah,
Trail. Yeah, you got to go down 4,000 feet to get to the
yeah,
river there.
yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, so
And that's where you're gonna be floating through that area, huh?
I will. Yeah,
How fun.
that's about mile 90 right at where we put in at Lee's Ferry. And
Hmm.
we don't do this for all our trips, but we have exchange because the trail goes down from Grand Canyon National Park. It goes down to the river there. And so we have what's called an exchange. We have 3 hikers out, and
Oh,
4 hikers in
hmm.
At Phantom Ranch. So, because some people can't do 21 days, but they can do a half trip.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I thought you meant you send up your poo package and you get a fresh when you said that you're going to do a
Nope,
trade out.
nope.
You carry that with you.
That raft just keeps getting heavier as we go down the river.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's cool. And then so now, okay, uh, one kind of last thing. Um, so I hear that you have done some poetry before, and you're a public. Do you still dabble in writing that, or do you have time for that, or
I wish I had more time
yeah?
to write. Yeah, I've gotten some poems published, and
Mm-hmm.
I write um, uh, occasionally. I wish I was writing more
Yeah,
frequently. There's just certain words that and feelings that just have to be expressed. Whether for you that you pick up your camera, somebody else may pick up clay or a
yeah,
paintbrush, or for me, I've really been reading a lot of
mm,
modern poetry. There's just such incredible work coming out right now. It's almost
mm-hmm.
intimidating
Mm,
sometimes
yeah,
to read what some of the other young poets and their thoughts. And I think more important than ever, something like poetry gives us for people who are reading it as well as expressing it themselves, just a way to process what is
yeah,
going on in the world in their lives. It conjures different feelings and emotions that we're not always in touch with. And isn't that
yeah,
exactly what art is for, and why it's so vital? And one of the reasons the Downtown Association for all of these years has always invested in
mm,
art. Whether I think
yeah,
I remember in Content Magazine, you did this incredible series of all the best murals downtown, and more than
mm,
half of them were ones we commissioned.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you guys had the Downtown Doors project as well with the high
Yeah.
school students, and yeah,
Oh, and
yeah.
the shark bite art, and
Oh yeah,
all of the different graphic designers we've hired over the years, uh,
yeah,
all of the musicians at Music in the Park.
yeah,
I would put our organization up against any other group in San
yeah,
Jose in terms of investments in the arts over the years.
yeah. Except for maybe SV Creates. Just kidding. With the legacy,
Yeah,
33. You have
yeah.
33 years plus years. I'm just kidding.
We got a few years on you before
Yeah, yeah,
Connie got that
yeah,
going.
yeah. That's cool. So then, last kind of question. What is the plan then? After you pass the baton, what are you kind of thinking about for your next chapter of
Well,
your life?
I told you we already got a permit for 2023, and we
Okay,
got a river
there you
trip.
go.
I
Yeah,
have 4 grandchildren.
yeah,
I think I, this was a sprawling interview. We talked very little, I think, about downtown, and so I
yeah,
think I established I have some other interests. I
yeah,
look forward to writing and doing some traveling, but I'm committed to my community, and
yeah,
there's already been. I mean, it's the classic, one door closes and another
mm-hmm,
opens, and I'm going to be um, I'm going to take a little time off. I'm not going to jump
sure,
into anything. I'm absolutely committed to the success of Downtown Association. I am leaving mad
yeah,
assets here for my successor, but at the same time, Daniel, I think I
yeah.
need to bug off. I know I suck the air out of every room I'm in, and I need to
No, no.
I need to leave space. There has to be space for this organization to evolve in this next direction without me.
Yeah, well, that's very smart to do that. I mean, that's the kind of the curse of, especially. I mean, you're somewhat. I mean, you've been there so long, a long time, so you're kind of almost like a founder of it. But yeah, to have the wisdom to know like it's time to pass the baton. And what would it? What's the? This is be the very last question. What's the one nugget as you do pass the baton? You would say to the next coming in executive director of the Downtown Association, remember this?
We're building a city for people. It's the people
Hmm.
that matter. Yes,
Hallelujah.
we need beautiful places for them, and that's something that we're focused on. But when you think about downtown ice or music in the park or al fresco, we're these buildings that our design committee is
Mm-hmm.
reviewing,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're office or resi or public use, they're all being built for humans to interact. So how can we make this environment more welcoming, more just, more inclusive, more fun, more sexy, all the things that attract us as people, more romantic, more spiritual. So that means we have to keep investing in people, in the arts. Everybody needs to eat. People are going to listen to music in plays, and we have to make those things that people love a
Mm-hmm.
priority.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, thank you, Scott. I thank you on a personal level just for your, like, I would say, inspiration to me as a downtowner, and then as a citizen of what you've done for downtown at your tenure, I guess that's what you call it, your time there at the Downtown Association. So I thank you for that. And even though we didn't talk about the downtown design committee and we didn't talk about the future with Google, those things can be
Our
for
next
a
one,
later,
yeah,
our next one. Yeah.
we'll do we can do a exit interview. Was
We'll do a post one, and then when you have no ties anymore and you can tell all the dirty stories.
that's
No,
that's true. I'm trying not to burn the place down on the way out the door.
that's good. That's good. That's very respectful, and I appreciate that. So, well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate your time, and like I said, I really appreciate you, and your friendship and your help for
Yeah, and
me
thanks.
and to you and Autumn and your kids and grandkids and your canoe, your
My
kayak, your
raft,
road,
my raft.
your rafts and raffers. The best to you. I really appreciate it.
All right, Dana. Best to you. Bye.
To find out more about the San Jose Downtown Association, go to their website, sjdowntown.com, and also follow them on Instagram at sj_downtown. Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast. Follow us on social media at Content Mag. Visit our website to become a member and help us to continue to tell the stories of the local creatives. This episode's music is 408 by Jack Pavlina. Find out more about Jack on his Instagram at Jack Pavlina Music.